Yeah, so I think the character is actually the most important part of the piece. It really focuses on the development of Lily Foster as an actual living, breathing, emoting human being. Obviously, she's not real, she's being portrayed by Liz. But I think that this story that I'm trying to tell is universal and specific enough that I really wanted to assign it to a fictitious character rather than try to say, oh, I have this friend who experienced this growing up, and I wanted to write about it. I thought it would be a little bit better coming from the voice of a fictitious character that I could create from the ground up.
Speaking out with your story is kind of an act of defiance, though. It's an act of strength.
Absolutely. Well, like, I want people to know that, like, you don't have to be, like, just constantly broken and beaten down and that there's, like, no way out. You know what I mean? I mean, like it's always gonna like hurt me. It's always gonna be like a part of who I am, but I have persevered, which is why this piece is like so important.
Like her backstory and the things that made her the way she is are secondary to the presentation of her character now. She's trying to move on and she's at college at this new place, and can she forgive her father, and she has all these issues that I think are really compelling and that don't get told a lot. And so what I wanted to do is try to tell that story, not of the abuse itself, but of how a character overcomes that hurdle in their life, that horrific things that happen, that happen to them. How do they get over that, and then how can they kind of get on and live their lives while they still have this, this image and this kind of horrible backstory burned into their memory?
It's something I'm still really dealing with. But like, I mean, maybe he does like actually love me, but like that's not portrayed necessarily. I mean, it wouldn't be clear whether it was real or whether it was like a means to an end.
So yeah, this is a big influencing factor in the story, certainly. I think that the biggest influencing factor, though, is that the character herself, Lily Foster, is an artist and does sit in her room and writes and performs, sings, paints, writes poetry, does these big video projects, and so I think that that all needs to be represented somehow in the music. I think that in terms of storytelling, it's a really broad brush that we can use to paint all these different facets of the character. But I think even beyond that, with the character development, the fact that we have these two opposing sides within the piece, the two main dancers of the story represent this kind of need for Lily to get out of her shell and to become strong, and part of her wants to be docile and dormant and introverted and not really, be kind of out in the public eye like this. So I think part of her doesn't really want to do the show, but then part of her has to because she's so multifaceted and so creative in terms of all these other medias, that we have, available to use in the Alice building.
The piece is very imaginative, and it delves very deeply into this world that you've created for yourself, not only as an artist, but also as a victim of abuse. How much of that world are you wanting to share with your audience, and how much are they meant to be a spectator?
Well, what I've tried to create is like a true window. Like, I really haven't held anything back. I mean, there are a lot of aspects of this piece that people could like easily find offensive, but like the subject matter is offensive. I mean, like it's not something that people talk about. It's not something that is pleasant, like by any stretch of the imagination. And so, I want the audience to just basically see into my world, what it was, what it is, what it's becoming. You can't really answer, like make a blanket statement for. I feel like the audience has like some role in deciding that, you know what I mean? The ending is sort of not really set in stone because I mean like I'm not set in stone. Like I'm still dealing with aspects of this, and like there are things that there are days that are better or worse than other days, and so the ending of this piece is a lot like that.
we thought that it would be very cool to have an art installation with a video wall component and an audio component, kind of a real-time sound generation synthesis component. So up in the lobby of Atlas, for a week and a half before the show, we're going to have this really interesting art installation, which are all paintings that Lily Foster did. Of course she didn't do them, she's fictional, but it was all kind of done from her perspective and done with her eye. All these different elements combining into one kind of unique installation that is coupled with, but at the same time separate from, the actual performance of the piece, and I think that's really special.
This could be someone's story, but it isn't meant to be someone's biography necessarily. Lily Foster is a fictional person. Her story is not fictional. She represents a story that's real, that is not easy to talk about. Deal with this piece is that he'll be there, and it's sort of like maybe a step towards having a relationship with him, maybe he'll see a part of me that he doesn't know.
Does he know that the piece is about him?
I haven't told him what the piece is about. I think he thinks that it's like a recital.
And what do you think his reaction is going to be when he finds out?
I don't really know.
He can't be happy.
Yeah.
I mean, you really should have told him.
I would appreciate it if you would, please not tell me what to do.
Well, I mean, it's so much about him. He's such a big part of it. I mean,
I
if
feel
it was about me.
I've answered enough questions, and, I think that this interview is over.